Thank you so much for doing this, Oliver. You're an actor, producer, TV host, entrepreneur, investor, quite a few hats. So how are you doing?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Yeah, it's funny. I think I've developed a few hats in life because I never acting and entertainment has always been what I've done since a kid. But sometimes we have to wear other hats when the path we're trying to take isn't moving how we thought. So I guess I've developed quite a few hats along my journey of life.
I'm sure. And so you were born in England, and I read that you were the youngest of four siblings.
That is
So what
true.
was your youth like, your family growing up? And then when did you get the bug for acting? Was it something that you knew you wanted to do in childhood, or did it kind of develop a little bit later on in life?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the youngest of four boys, so my mum and dad would tell you different, but I think they thought a girl was going to pop out, and I popped out, and so I kind of found myself on this journey of like, I went into dance school when I was 4 years old, so I did ballet for 12 years, I did tap modern, I did a ton of theatre and a ton of performances, really since I was a kid. So as far back as I can remember, I was always performing, So I was that kid. And then on top of that, my dad had me playing football. So between the two of football and dance and everything else, I really didn't have much time to get up to any mischief or craziness. And so I'm grateful for that. I mean, definitely sometimes I think missed out on some of the fun, but at the same time, built such an early structure in my life and also got very used to being able to, do different things and switch from one to the next and both, physically and on a mindset level. So, I'm grateful for it.
So you were performing then at a younger age. Did you want to then stay in the theater and or ballet? And you said you mentioned you played football. I'm assuming that's soccer in the U.S. But was
Yes,
that
exactly. I
yeah? Is
definitely didn't
that
play your football. I would be absolutely used to.
right?
I'd
Yeah,
be
right. I was just say yeah, American football, totally different game. Unless you're a kicker,
yeah. I would
although
I
there's a
would
lot of
be out
pressure
of
on
that
that
game
on
in
that spot.
yeah. I'd be out of that game in minutes. No, as far as I mean, yeah. I think I got the bug right. Like as soon as I started, I think that it's a dangerous thing, but it's an amazing thing. As soon as I was on a stage and you heard that clapping and performing, like I loved it. It was then part of me, whether it was in my blood from day one or whether I developed it, but from a very young age. I knew that I wanted to be performing and be part of that.
So when did you eventually come to the U.S. and Hollywood? Was it like your traditional like Hollywood story? Like I went there, I tried to make it, I took every job I could,
No, I mean
or
I had a kind of a freak accident. Well, not an accident, a freak attack happened in England in early 20s and was kind of left on the street for dead, literally, and had to go through like about a year in total in hospital of being rebuilt. Literally, my entire face was restructured and plates in my jaw and bone grafts, and it was a crazy kind of story. And after that, I knew that I wanted to try somewhere different. I think for me, I didn't feel, it wasn't a good thing, but I didn't feel too safe in my town and in England, and I just, wanted something different. And a friend of mine was in LA. This is going back, over 20 years now. And a friend of mine was in LA and just kept saying how amazing it is and how great it is, and the sunshine and the people are lovely, and it's safe. Obviously things change here and there as time goes on, but back then it just felt like a real world of opportunity and a kind of a new start, and that's what I needed at the time. I needed, I think, for my mind to get out of this hole that I was in of like fear and depression and everything else. I needed like a new chapter. And so for me, the opportunity came up, and I really didn't know much of what I was doing, other than I had a little bit of money in my pocket, and I got on a plane and had an extremely teary-eyed goodbye to my mum and dad. I'll never forget that moment at Heathrow Airport, and that was it. And the rest is history. And it's been kind of like one sliding door moment after the next. And I think with that, like, especially when I think about the business stuff and people ask me how'd you get into that, like I would have never dreamed or visioned that a lot of the things I'm doing now I would have been doing, especially not all at the same time. But it does make sense now, like it all kind of led me on this path where I'm at. And I think that's what, at least for me, I've learned like later in life. And my mum used to say this to us when we were kids. It used to drive us nuts, but she used to kind of say life makes sense in reverse. And I truly believe that now. And I think the more I can just, like we all still struggle with the days and the good days and the bad days. I think the more I can try and let life just play out how it's meant to, the more it kind of does. Because you don't really know what's ahead. We all think we can manipulate and try and figure out what's going to come next and what we would like, but you never really know. So I think, obviously having passions and believe in yourself to a point that it's, healthy, but at the same time, you have to let things play out, because you really, at least for me, my paths have been taken in many, many different directions that I would have never thought when I when I took the first step into America.
Yeah. And were your parents always supportive of you even back then? Were they like, yeah, go follow your dreams? Or were they kind of hesitant and said, oh, maybe you should find some more like structured work or something, something
Yeah,
that's
I
more
mean,
dependable?
they had us working. I mean, I worked from a pretty young age. I left school at like 15, 16. I got a full-time job to support like my theatre stuff and my acting. My first job was really cleaning my dad's vans and trucks. He had that, so I used to do that at weekends. I had a paper round. And then when I got my full-time job, I was working in like an electrical wholesaling store. So I got used to like being independent very early on, to the point that they didn't really have much to say because I was independent, and they were always supportive. Like my mum and dad have been incredible, but at the same time, they've always let me kind of make my own mistakes and mess up and figure it out. And if I've really needed them or if I need advice, they've always been there. But I think in a healthy way, they would have no trouble telling me if I was in the wrong, and they would have no trouble letting me figure it out for myself either. And I think that's I'm grateful for that.
What was your first big break when you came to Hollywood? Was it a movie, a film? Was it just kind
No,
of
I
like
mean
a side project?
I came here. I was kind of in the music world a little bit. A dear friend of mine was here as well, Robbie Williams, who was doing music at the time, and I found myself in like circles of that world. Obviously, I grew up, in London, in England, especially in London, when you're kind of qualifying for your kind of scholarships or you're trying to get into theatre schools, you kind of have to do all three. You have to dance, sing, and act. At least it used to be that way. So I was, I'd done a lot of performances back in the UK. I'd sung and danced, I'd done it all. So the opportunity came up here to do music, and I was doing some of that at the time. I wouldn't say it was my passion, but it got me work. And then it got me really to stick around America enough to meet enough people to then follow what I wanted to do. And it was always really, I always wanted to act. I went into acting school, as soon as I really landed here. And then I've always continued to find different teachers along the way. But I think for me, the acting, I remember getting an agent, and then out of nowhere, I got offered a hosting gig, like a TV presenting gig. And I did that for, over 10 years, all different kinds of shows and award show circuits and everything else. That wasn't in the plan either. Did I love it? Yeah. Did I want to do it forever? No. Would I do it again? Possibly. It's like these different chapters, but I'm glad because I learned so much from it. I met some amazing people through it. And then for me, it hit a point where I was like, you know what? I want to do something else, and I want to give acting a go. And I think, along the way, I'd done a lot of business stuff as well. I think that was always in my nature. Like, while you're going down one road, there's always other opportunities that you drive by. And instead of just driving by them because I'm going down that road, I would always pick up different things. And to be honest, people have just played a massive part in my life, whether it's, dear friends in the acting world like Gerard Butler and people like that have taught me so much. And, now I've had the pleasure of working with on a set and learn from, to business people around me that have always been an ear and let me kind of listen in or be around that. So for me, I think the biggest thing in my life that has built my livelihood and the chapter that is in this present moment are the people that have been around me. The people have taught me the good lessons, the bad lessons. It's what it's all about.
And like you mentioned, Gerard Butler, who you acted in with on Plane, and then The Bricklayer with Nina Dobrev and Aaron Eckhart. So what are some highlights of working with such actors like that in projects? And what do you love most about acting and more of those like kind of larger production roles?
Yeah, look, for acting, I think what I love about it is the same reason I love watching it is for those moments you get to escape. Like when I'm sitting on my sofa watching an amazing movie, I'm not thinking about my stuff. I'm not thinking about exes, breakups, what work I didn't get, what job I missed. Like I'm just in that moment watching the movie. And I think for me, it's the same thing when I'm on set. When I'm playing that character, I'm playing the character. I'm in the moment. It's a very kind of flow state of life. And so I think for me, that's what I love about it. And then obviously getting to work with your peers and people that you look up to is amazing, because I always try and, like, even in the takes that I'm not in, when it's okay to stick around on set and watch, I love watching. I love seeing people do their thing, seeing how they, get into character. And I think, the big part about working with Gerard is, we've been friends for a long time, and being on set with him, I think the big thing is also about how he treats people. You see many different personalities on a set, and I think he's it doesn't matter if you're top of your game, you still treat everyone with the same amount of respect, and you do your job and you keep your head down.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a passion for the craft for you, a master of the craft of just, acting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You received the Breakout Actor Award at the Rome Film Festival for your latest film, which we want to talk about, The Paradox Effect. So how big of a recognition was that for you at this point in your career? And talk about the film and everything behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing to get the award. I don't have a lot to relate it to because I haven't had many other awards. So
yeah,
other than
there's still time, plenty of time.
Back, yeah, if we really turn back the clock and go back to like my ballet and theatre days, I mean, I definitely won a few medals at the music festivals, which I'm sure my mum still has on display.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, they're still there. But look, it was an amazing, all happened so quick. Like, we always knew the movie was coming out this summer. Like, it was intended to be this summer, or now the end of summer. So we didn't even know it was going into a festival. And I guess because we filmed it in Italy, we filmed it in Puglia, and people at the festival, I'm not too familiar with how it works, but I'm guessing the judges or the people that bring the films in had heard about this movie and they wanted to review it. And I remember at the time it was a scramble by the director and the producers to kind of get the cut done in time to get everything finished. And they submitted the movie, and then we found out they were, if they hadn't only accepted it, they were going to screen it, and they were also presenting me an award. So it all happened very, very quickly, and it was a lovely moment. It was a great moment. I mean, I flew mum and dad in. I wanted them there. Gerard Butler happened to be filming in Italy at the same time on a different project, and he came as a surprise to give me the award, which was lovely. It actually put me in tears because he just, said some really inspiring words up there, and it was just a nice moment to share together. So I think we've been through the trenches for 20 plus years in life, and it was just a very special moment. And then I got to, enjoy dinner with mum and dad after, and go off and enjoy Rome. I mean, as far as places to be and even have a movie screen, I think Rome is one of the most magical cities on this planet. So it was lovely in so many ways.
Do you enjoy traveling for promoting films like that, and going to various countries and experiencing various cultures that, connect with the same project? Because it's one film, right? But you're pushing it out to a world audience.
I mean, I think at this point I've got to enjoy traveling because I don't stop. I think I've done close to 60 flights this year so far. It's a juggle between flying away to film because I live in LA, but I'm yet to film in LA. We're always filming somewhere else. Even the US productions nowadays film in either Europe or the UK or Canada, or somewhere outside of California in the States, like Atlanta. So we're always moving, and that's the movie stuff. And then in between the movie stuff, I do have businesses I'm involved in, especially Cali Water, which is my beverage brand. So I'm always flying back to LA for meetings around that, and then flying to different states for kind of store visits and meetings around, the expansion of the brand. So, and then popping in to see mum and dad and family wherever I can. So there's a lot of flying, there's a lot of travel. So I've somewhat got used to it,
Yeah, sure. And you're also into producing with projects like Another Day in America and Icefall. So how do you balance the dual roles, and what excites you most about producing and being behind the camera as well?
Yeah, I mean, every project's different. I mean, Another Day in America was a movie that I produced and was extremely involved in. Icefall, I was an exec producer on. So, you have smaller hats and you have bigger hats. I just produced my first, feature, as in like completely, my movie from start to finish, called Misdirection, which is with Frank Grillo. And also Olga Kurylenko's in that too. We met on Paradox Effect, and we just love working together. So we did that. We broke the ice again. But that was an experience. It was extremely tough. It was years in the making. I found this script, years ago, and producers wanted to make it and they didn't make it, and then more producers wanted to make it and they didn't make it. And then finally, through the years, I was like, hang on, I've done enough of this now. Like, I feel like I can get this done. And I took the reins and optioned the script, and kind of from the cast to the director to the, people to help me produce it on the ground. We went to Serbia and we filmed this movie, and that was extremely tough, because I was not only wearing the hat of a producer in every way, even including the financing, but wearing the hat of, the lead actor in it. And also, once again, I juggle the business stuff. I think it's a blessing, because when I finish a movie, I get to go straight back into work on other stuff. So I don't have that mind that's going, oh, what are you going to do now? That's a lot in our industry where people suffer with, is from one project to the next. What do you do in the in between? So I'm grateful for it, because I don't have that. But at the same time, you don't always get to switch it off. So I'll be on a set, juggling Zoom calls and business calls in between that stuff. So wearing the producer hat on that was especially hard, because I was wearing, multiple hats at the same time. But I love it. The producing for me, it really is the same as the business stuff. Like, I love creating. I love the creation of something, as far as the script, or whether it's a product, and then how I tell that story, who you tell the story with, who you're working with on telling the story. There are a lot of similarities between producing something as far as content and a script and a movie or a TV show that aligns with the same thing around producing, a product or making something in that realm.
And before we get to the business aspect of your career, I want to talk a little bit about your philanthropy. One of the organizations that you work for or work with is Not for Sale, so fighting human trafficking and slavery. What inspired you to become deeply involved with this cause, and how do you balance advocacy for philanthropy and in your career?
Yeah, I was at an event. It was when the organization was very early on. It was a small event here in Los Angeles, and the founder was there, Dave Batstone. And it was just one of those moments that I was like, what? Like, you hear the stats around the slavery in the world today, and the issue around trafficking, and you just can't, like, it's just, it was mind blowing. And it was one of the moments where you're like, God, what a self-obsessed prick I am. I'm complaining about my problems, and look at what's really going on in the world. And Dave and I got talking. There was a guy called Lyndon Lee, who's an extremely, dear friend. He's like family to me now. At the time, we had just met, and he was involved in the organization. He was on the board. And so we all kind of started to put our heads together, and I worked with them more, and went to, there's a shelter in Thailand. I've been there a few times now, and worked with the kids and the victims there. And it's just, it's an extremely inspiring place, and also heartbreaking. It's an issue that, for some reason, the media doesn't really bring mass awareness to it. It's kind of a lot of these major issues, I find that, we come across are kind of swept under the rug a little bit. It's like that ignorance is bliss. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was something I just couldn't turn a blind eye. I couldn't turn my eye on it. I had to get involved. And so had a great journey working with the team and Dave and all the people. And then that led me into other things. I think it led me on that mindset of, what else is going on? What else is a mess that I can maybe add a little bit of help to? And so that put me onto the journey of that world. A documentary that was just recently finished that we went and filmed in Vrindavan. It's a series, it's called Unmuted, various episodes around different topics, but the main premise is, female voices that would otherwise be unheard. So these important topics that are issues around women that for some reason, the mainstream media just doesn't speak up on it. So we're trying to amplify that message. The first one that I was involved in was we filmed it in India, in Vrindavan, around the importance of female education, and then the ripple effect that without that education, there's this issue around forced child marriage. And so, it's all of that stuff. I mean, I enjoy it. It really is heartbreaking sometimes, but at the same time, I think every one of those experiences, I've learned something massive about myself or about life, and the things that we kind of, spin about in our own bubbles,
Yeah,
they really
sure.
don't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Right. Yeah. And I think, if anything, life's kind of like a whole learning experience. If you're always learning through life. And I think that that's important to expose you to, where the needs are in the world, and, using your celebrity and kind of bully pulpit to shed some light on it and hopefully affect change.
Yeah.
So
totally.
it's important. Yeah. So the business aspect of your life, because you also have a very successful entrepreneurship business career, Cali Water, which you just referenced
Yeah.
with your business partner, Vanessa Hudgens. So how did that product launch come about? And talk about the water itself, because it's a unique kind of category that maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with.
Yeah. Look, we've been friends. Vanessa and I have been friends for a long, long time. I would say 15 years, and once again, we've just had a real, true friendship in the world where there's a lot of pretend friendships. She's just been a rock. She's been an amazing friend, and we've been through the highs and lows of life together. And this opportunity came up, and we were just like, we should do something together. We should work on this together. And the reason I found out about cactus water is because I was having my blood testing done, my panels, actually at a company called Next Health, which I'm an investor of, and my sugar count came back really high. And so I was like, that's strange because I don't, I like a bit of chocolate and stuff, but I'm not eating sugar all day. And I realized it was coconut water. I was drinking about 3 coconut waters a day after a workout. It's obviously hot here in California sometimes, and I just chug a few of them. And I was doing about 60 to 70 grams of sugar a day. And so I thought, hang on, that's a massive market, but also there must be something else out there. Every beverage has its moment. And at the time, coconut water was massive. Obviously, it's still massive. And people also kept telling me about, the more I traveled, the more I would hear about these issues of, the sustainability problem around coconuts, as well. Like you chop it open, you get the coconut, it constantly needs more. And so cactus, prickly pear came up, and I started to look into it more. And, it was like something that hadn't really been tapped into. There's this super fruit all around the world. It survives in so many different climates, has so many benefits to it. It's sustainable because it naturally drains its juices. They kind of plug it and then it naturally drains. But no one had kind of tapped into it. So, we put our heads together and created this brand and really wanted to get it going, and learned a lot about business and learned, I'd invested in a bunch, but I'd never founded something. Completely different hat to wear. And, it was a grind. I mean, I remember it was during COVID. It was kind of the back end of COVID when we started doing this, and we were like, we're going to do it. And we found co-packers, and they shut down because of COVID. And then you'd order ingredients and it would shut down. And it was a mess. I was driving back and forth to this place like 2 hours outside of LA, and just issue after issue after issue. But we knew we wanted to do it. And we were extremely, Vanessa especially, extremely picky around the taste of it. So we wanted to really perfect that. We wanted to be natural and, use organic ingredients. But at the same time, even though it's a health drink, we wanted it to be enjoyable to drink. Because that was the thing for me, was like, there's kombuchas, there's all these drinks on the market. We all drink them because we're told they're good for us. Do we really enjoy them? Not for me anyway,
Yeah.
So we wanted to create this health drink that was actually good for you and you actually enjoyed drinking. And so we put a lot of effort around the taste. We didn't just want to be like, oh, we're a celebrity brand and you've all heard about us, but you don't like the taste or it's got hidden crap. We really put a lot of focus on the product. And with that, I think it's why we're, starting to gain great momentum as a brand, because we put the product first. And it's been a ride. It's been amazing. We've got some amazing friends involved as well as investors. We've found some great retail partners, everyone from now Albertsons and Safeways and Gelson's and Bristol Farms to Walmart and Amazon, and all these incredible partners that have come on board. It's extremely exciting.
So essentially, you've kind of created a whole separate beverage category within, kind
now
of
there's
the
a
health.
few. Yeah,
Yeah.
now there's a few cactus waters on the market, which I'll be honest. At first, I was like, what? Call my lawyer. And the lawyers were like, settle down. This is amazing. It's great that the category's growing because it shows it's not going anywhere. And I think with that,
Right.
it's people are realizing the benefits of cactus and the sustainability position of it as well. And I think someone just sent me a link the other day. It was like Lululemon or someone is now doing an entire line made out of cactus. So I think we're gonna hear more about it, not only as foods but products in general. The cactus market is for sure growing, so it's nice to be a part of that and nice to be somewhat ahead of it as well. So I think timing, like anything in life, plays a massive factor, and I think for us on this one, timing's on our side. So we're excited.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just tried hop water for the first time. I know it's been around a little while, and there's several brands, but I had never tried it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this, and I did, and I actually liked it. So I think sometimes it just takes a chance for people to try it, and then they fall in love with it,
Yeah,
and then it grows from there.
exactly. You just got to keep pushing it out there, and eventually, people will try it. And I think that's where if you focus on the product part of it, we are confident in the product. So, you know, when someone tries it, we have 4 flavors on the market right now, and then we have a exclusive flavor that we just launched with GNC nationwide. But I'm yet to hear someone try the drink and be like, it's not for me. You know, people love,
Right.
and everyone falls in love with a different flavor. So for me, it's the best part of it is people trying it, you know? And I think that's exciting.
And then also part of your business career, you've launched Hollywood Media, so that became a success pretty quickly. So what motivated you to dive into the media production aspect of the business? And do you think it was a little easier being in the industry itself and having kind of that you know, on the grounds like experience of working in the industry?
For sure. I mean, I'd done a lot with it. There's a brand called All Saints, a UK fashion brand that I got involved in 15 years ago. And so I'd been involved in that process and the content creation, and obviously through my kind of, you know, making of documentaries and things here and there, you know, content was a big part of my life. And then that also kind of combined with, you know, the brands I was investing in. You know, like I wouldn't find myself just writing a check. I'd always be the guy that'd be like, okay, I'm investing. And then I'd stick my nose in, right? I'd be like, what are you guys doing around this? Or what are you doing around the content? Or, you know, why are you spending that on a photo shoot? You know, it makes no sense. How many, you know, chocolate bars have you got to sell to make that money back before you know? So I kind of started to take a lot of what I had learned into, you know, other opportunities. And with that, it just made sense to kind of launch a media company and kind of start putting a lot of things under one roof. So yeah, everything now from documentaries to movies to now, you know, TV shows. We're producing a couple of those that are happening in the UK, to, you know, the branding stuff, to investments, to, you know, bunch of things. And it's exciting because I think the amazing part about the entertainment industry more than ever is that it's all so, there's so much synergy between everything, between fashion, between music, between film, between TV, you know, brand. I think it's more integrated than ever. So that's exciting.
Okay. And I have to talk about him, your French bulldog, Alfie. He's had quite a following on social media.
Alfie, come here. I'll go grab him. Hang on. Come here. He's sleeping. Come here.
Oh, there he is. All right. Yeah. So he gets to make his podcast debut.
How you doing?
No, he doesn't want to talk. So when did you get him, and how cool is that to like have him as kind of your partner? And does he get to travel with you at all or experience any of the limelight?
He's been coming everywhere with me. He's got multiple passports, no joke. He's been to, you know, Bulgaria, Serbia, Italy, France, Spain, Canada, you know, all around the US. He's just great company. You know, people think I'm nuts. I'm like showing up with this dog all the time, but as you can see, he's pretty chill. And he's just a nice constant in life. Like, it's nice to, when you're stuck in a hotel room for, you know, it seems great when you're there for a few days, and then when you're there for like 2 months and you start to see the same 4 walls, he kind of gives me that, you know, I guess it gets me out of my own head. You know, I have to get up, I have to walk him, you know, I have to pick up his, so it's kind of, you know, it's a good little friend to have.
Yeah, it looks like it. He's like, let me just go sleep, please.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to be on camera today.
Yeah.
All right. So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years from now? Is still acting, obviously? Do you still want to grow the business side of your career, investing more, starting another brand? Or was Cali Water like, okay, that was a lot, you know, maybe I'll just focus more on that, building that brand and making it become an international brand?
I mean, I want Cali Water to become an international brand for sure. The acting stuff and producing stuff, I'll forever continue. You know, those are the things that I know, and the rest I kind of don't know. You know, I'm sure I'll continue to invest, and I like to pay it forward. You know, people believed in me early on, so I'm always trying to, you know, help other founders and help other people, and both, you know, in the business side and the entertainment space. So I think it's, you know, life kind of makes sense as it is now. So I'm just going to carry on following this path. Right, Alfie?
I think he agrees. And last question. So what advice would you give to somebody who would want to follow in your footsteps, either in, you know, an acting career or business career, or trying to balance 2 careers and doing, you know, more than one career?
I mean, it takes work for sure. You know, you got to enjoy the ups and the downs, because it's never, at least for me, it was never a perfect path. You know, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, there's going to be a lot of no's and a lot of reasons why you can't do something or why you shouldn't do something. But at the end of the day, you got to take a shot, give it a go. And if it doesn't work, move on, try something else. I think the nature of life is like the failures obviously shape us and teach us so much. And with that, if you keep trying, eventually you're going to find your way.
Okay. Well, great. Well, Oliver, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And best of luck to you and the rest of your career in the film.
Cheers, Larry. Such a pleasure. Speak to you soon.